My name is Ruth James. I used to believe in fairy tales. You know, the wedding gown, the man of your dreams, the happily ever after. But everything changed on the night of my wedding. That evening we had just checked into our honeymoon suite. Daniel Wise, my husband, the man I loved, had just kissed my forehead and smiled at me like I was his whole world. I remember saying, "Give me 5 minutes," before heading into the bathroom to freshen up. I was excited, nervous, happy, everything a bride should feel. Then someone knocked on the door. I thought it was room service. I was still in my robe, so I went to answer. But when I opened the door, I froze. It was Daniel, standing right there at the door. But how? He was supposed to be inside the room. Behind him stood my father, Chief James, my mother, Mama Gloria, and my sister, Mary. "Daniel," I whispered, confused. His face was twisted in rage. "You've disgraced me," he shouted. "You slept with another man on our wedding night." I felt like the walls were closing in. "That's not true. Daniel, listen." He didn't. He didn't even look me in the eyes. He yanked off his wedding ring and threw it at me. It landed on the floor with a sharp final sound. Then he turned around and walked away. My father's eyes held something worse than anger, disappointment, shame. "You've brought disgrace to this family," he said. And with that he followed Daniel. "But Mary?" She smirked. "Wow," she said, pretending to pity me. "First the wedding dress, then the scandal. What a performance." I collapsed to the floor in tears. When we got back home, I begged my father to listen to me, to just ask me what happened. But instead he handed me a brown envelope. Divorce papers. Daniel had already signed them. No chance to explain. No space to fight for my name. Days later, I saw pictures online. Daniel and Mary smiling like they'd never been happier. They had married in secret. My world fell apart. Then Mary showed up at my house. She was wearing designer perfume and Daniel's wristwatch. "You still don't get it, do you?" she said. "What are you talking about?" "That juice I gave you that night, I drugged it. You passed out. I paid a random guy to lie beside you. Daniel came in with your father right on schedule." My mouth dropped open. "Why would you do this to me?" She smiled without blinking. "Because I've always wanted Daniel. Now I have him. I also have everything Daddy owned. He gave me all his properties as a wedding gift." I stared at her, trembling. "You destroyed me." "No, Ruth. You just didn't know how to protect what was yours." That night I packed a bag. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I had to get out. Months later I fainted at work. The nurse gave me the news gently. "You're pregnant." I didn't feel joy. I felt fear. I felt anger. I felt alone. When my boss, Mr. K, saw I wasn't myself, I finally told him everything. He hugged me. "Keep your job, Ruth. Raise those children." And so I did. I gave birth to twin daughters, Zara and Zena. They were beautiful. Everything good I thought I'd lost. I worked every hour I could, gave them love, warmth, and a safe home. But by the time they turned 10, the questions began. "Mummy, why doesn't Daddy ever call? Is he a secret agent? Do we have his smile?" One day I knew I couldn't keep lying. So I took them back to the same hotel where my nightmare began. I walked to the front desk and asked the manager if he remembered me. He squinted at me, then slowly nodded. You're the woman that man keeps asking about." "What man?" "He comes every twice a month. He said he was drugged years ago and accidentally slept with a stranger. He only remembers her face." I felt something shift in my chest. "Is he still coming?" "He's coming in today." I held my daughter's hands tightly. Minutes later the lobby doors opened. And there he was. A tall man with a commanding presence. Handsome. Sharp jaw. Familiar eyes. Zena and Zara saw him first. They ran to him like something in their spirit recognized him. He knelt, stunned, staring at them, then at me. You're her," he whispered. I nodded, barely holding back tears. "My name is Brian Uchenna." That night my drink was tampered with. I woke up confused. I thought I'd imagined the whole thing, until I couldn't stop seeing your face. The waiter who spiked my drink was arrested months later. "I've been coming here hoping to find you." My voice shook. "These girls, they're your daughters." He broke. Tears streamed down his face as he hugged them tightly. "I've missed 10 years. But I promise you I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." He took us home, a mansion outside the city. I later learned his brother was a tech billionaire, known across Africa for his quiet power and influence in politics and media. He introduced us to his workers and told them clearly, "This is my family. Treat them like royalty." And for the first time my daughters had laughter, joy, safety. They were seen. They were loved. Weeks later, under the stars, Brian knelt in the garden. "Ruth," he said, his eyes soft, "will you marry me?" "Yes," I said. 1 week later we went to my father's house for the introduction. He nearly collapsed when he saw Brian, and the billionaire standing beside him. You know her past?" my father stuttered. Brian stood tall. "Sir, I'm the father of her children." My mother was speechless. Mary stood like a statue. I didn't say a word. But just as we were about to leave, a maid from the house rushed up to me and whispered, "Madam Ruth. Mary said if things don't go her way she might do something crazy. She's planning something." I held my daughter's hands tighter. As I knew Mary. And Mary? She didn't stop, until something shattered. Weeks passed. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. My mornings were soft, filled with the smell of pancakes and the sound of my daughter's giggling. My evenings were quiet. No anxiety, no tension, just Brian's calm voice and the peace of healing. Zena and Zara started drawing pictures again, this time with 4 smiling faces. Mine, theirs, and Brian's. I was building a life I didn't have to escape from. But peace doesn't last in families like mine. One Sunday afternoon my phone rang. It was Naomi, Mary's best friend from university. We hadn't spoken in years. "Ruth," she said, her voice low, "I don't know if I'm doing the right thing by telling you this, but you deserve to know the truth." I sat down. "Mary planned everything with Daniel. They've been secretly dating for years, even before you met him. It was all a setup. Mary wanted the inheritance and she needed you out of the way." My throat went dry. "She told Daniel to make you fall in love with him, to marry you, and destroy you on your wedding day so your father would cut you off and leave everything to her. It was never about love, Ruth. It was a trap." I felt like the walls were spinning. Everything I had questioned, every quiet glance between them, every time I felt like something wasn't right but couldn't prove it. It was all true. Daniel never loved me. He was just the weapon. Mary was the hand pulling the trigger. But karma? Oh, it doesn't miss. Not long after the wedding scandal, Daniel's company came under fire. His childhood friend, the same one he started the company with, had exposed their secrets. Fraud and fake invoices. The EFCC stormed the mansion at dawn. Daniel was arrested. Mary was dragged along with him for questioning. When she returned that night, neighbors said she was shaking, crying, pregnant. Yes, pregnant. But karma wasn't finished. 3 days later, Daniel was released. He returned home quietly, thinking maybe Mary had been loyal after all. But what he walked into was worse than betrayal. Mary didn't know he was back. She was in the living room, pacing and on the phone, speaking to none other than Daniel's best friend. The same one who had been beside him for years. "You know the baby isn't his," she said, laughing bitterly. "I did what I had to do. I only needed Daniel to get what I wanted. That inheritance was supposed to be mine." Daniel stood there at the doorway, frozen. He had destroyed a woman who loved him. All for a woman who used him. He didn't yell. Didn't ask questions. He just turned around, opened the wardrobe, pulled out her clothes. One by one. Mary came out of the room, confused. "Daniel, what are you doing?" He didn't answer. He picked up her bags, her shoes, even the throw pillows she loved so much. And then, without warning, he threw everything outside. Right there. On the lawn. "Get out," he said coldly. Mary blinked. "What?" I said, "Get out." No explanation. No sympathy. Just the cold truth crashing down on the woman who had built her future on betrayal. Me. I didn't say a word. I didn't laugh. Because this was never about revenge. It was about healing. Whole. And finally free. After Daniel threw her out, Mary had nowhere to go. She was pregnant, not with Daniel's child but with his best friend's. The man she had trusted, denied everything. In tears she called him. He didn't even ask if she was okay. Just said, "Go to the house. The gate man has something for you." She went. Alone. Belly full, heart heavier. The gate man handed her a letter. If you're reading this, I'm already out of the country. I've sold the house, the car, everything. I took the savings too. I can't end up with you, Mary. Don't look for me. She stood there frozen, the world spinning. The only man who knew the truth had vanished. And under her breath she whispered, "This child I carry. I know who the father is. And he doesn't want us." For days there was silence. From Mary. No posts. No calls. No drama. Just absence. Until one evening I got a message from Naomi. Just a simple text. "Ruth, I thought you should see this." Attached was a video, grainy and shaky. A woman in a faded hoodie, dragging a small bag by the roadside, heavily pregnant. It was Mary. Someone had filmed her outside a local clinic. Caption read, "Is this not Madame Mary that used to drive Benz? What happened to her?" My stomach tightened. This wasn't joy. This wasn't justice. This was pity. The same world that once bowed at her feet was now pointing fingers at her back. And I didn't know what to feel. Until another call came, this time not from Naomi, but from our father. He sounded old. Not weak. Just tired. "Ruth," he said quietly, "she came to the gate yesterday." I didn't speak. She didn't ask to come in. Just stood there. Wet from the rain. Belly full. Silent. My chest grew tight. He sighed. I didn't know what to do. I shut the curtains. Another pause. "Tell me, did I fail you both?" That question hung between us like a wound we'd both ignored for too long. I didn't answer it. Because sometimes there are no answers. Only echoes. Later that night I sat outside with Brian. The girls had gone to bed. The stars were gentle and quiet. "Do you think I'm cruel?" I asked him suddenly. He looked over. "Why would you ask that?" "Because I haven't forgiven her. Because I don't feel sorry anymore." He touched my hand. "Ruth, forgiveness doesn't mean access. You're allowed to protect your peace." I nodded, but the storm inside me didn't. Because the next morning, someone knocked on our gate. Zena was the first to run to the window. "Mummy, there's a woman outside." I walked to the door slowly. Brian followed. And there she was. Mary. But not the sister I knew. Her hair was messy, her face pale. She clutched her stomach like it hurt just to breathe. No makeup. No designer bags. Just raw, broken humanity. "I'm not here to beg," she said softly. "I just want to leave this letter." She held out a small envelope. Her hands trembled. Brian stepped forward. I stopped him. I took it. She nodded once, and walked away. Not a single word more. I didn't open it right away. I watched her go. And for the first time, I saw her. Not the villain. Not the betrayer. Just Mary. A woman who burned every bridge and now had no path left to walk. That night after the girls slept, I opened the letter. "Ruth, if you're reading this, I guess I've finally run out of ways to avoid the truth. I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't. But I need you to know something. It wasn't always jealousy. Sometimes it was fear. You were everything I couldn't be. I was always angry at you, not because of what you had but because of how you held it. Gently. Deservingly. Daniel never truly loved either of us. But I was too deep in my plan to care. I ruined you to feel powerful. And in the process, I ruined myself. This child I carry, the father, Brown, doesn't even want us. He sold everything father gave me, emptied our savings and left the country without looking back. But I want to do one thing right. I'm leaving the city. I don't know where I'm going yet. But I won't show up at your door again. Just, please tell Zena and Zara I'm sorry. Maybe one day they'll remember me as more than the monster in their mother's story. Mary." I folded the letter slowly. Brian sat beside me. I didn't speak. He didn't ask. Some stories don't need telling out loud. Some wounds just need silence to scab over. And as for me, I didn't chase after her. I didn't burn the letter. I placed it in a small box, the one I keep near my daughter's art. Because even broken things deserve to be remembered. Just not repeated. The next morning came quietly. Sunlight peeked through the curtains, soft and warm. But I didn't feel warm. I felt unsettled. Mary's words echoed in my mind like whispers I couldn't silence. "This child I carry, the father, Brown, doesn't even want us anymore. He sold everything father gave me, transferred all our money and left the country. A part of me wanted to be angry for her. Another part wanted to ask, what did you expect? But most of all, I felt tired. Tired of carrying pain that wasn't mine to begin with. That afternoon while Brian was out with the girls, my phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then picked up. Hello. Pause. Then a breath. Then, Ruth, it's me. My heart dropped. Mary. Yes. Her voice was raw. She sounded like someone who hadn't slept in days. I didn't know who else to call, she whispered. I didn't say anything. She kept talking. I'm not asking for money or a place to stay. I just need help finding a hospital that will take me. I think something's wrong. Despite everything, my chest tightened. Are you bleeding? No, she said quickly. But the baby's not moving much. I closed my eyes. This wasn't the time to relive betrayal. This was a life. An innocent one. Send me your location, I said softly. I'll meet you there. An hour later. I arrived at the clinic. It was small, almost hidden between two shuttered shops. I found her sitting outside on a wooden bench, hugging her belly. She looked even smaller in person. Ruth, she breathed. I walked over without a word and helped her stand. We didn't talk much. The doctor took her in. I waited outside, fingers knotted, heart tight. Half an hour later, the nurse came out. She and the baby are stable, she said gently. But she needs rest. And food. And someone to stay with her, at least for tonight. I looked through the window at her frail form. She wasn't the same Mary. She was just a woman who had broken too many things and now had no idea how to rebuild. I exhaled. I'll stay. Later that night, Mary lay on the small clinic bed, half asleep. I sat beside her, the lights dim. She stirred and turned her head weakly. Ruth. Yes. Do you think there's still a future for someone like me? I looked at her for a long time. Then I said quietly, maybe not the one you imagined, but maybe one worth starting over for. She blinked, tears rolling silently. I didn't reach out to wipe them. Some tears are meant to fall. But in that moment I saw something shift. Just a beginning. A small one. But sometimes small is enough. The clinic called early. She's in labor, the nurse said. It's a bit early, but she's strong. By the time I got there, Mary was already in pain, drenched in sweat, gripping the bedsheet like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. She looked up, eyes wild. Ruth. I'm here, I said, holding her hand. Breathe. You're not alone. Minutes passed in chaos, shouting, pushing, praying. Then just like that, a baby's cry pierced the air. A girl. They placed her on Mary's chest. She stared at the child, then at me, eyes swimming. I want to fix things, she whispered. I want to go home. Later that week, we arrived together, me, Mary, and the baby. Our father opened the door. Froze. Mary swallowed. Daddy, I know I failed you, but this is your granddaughter. Her name is Hope. The old man didn't speak. He stepped forward instead, and gently took the baby in his arms. She looks like you, he said softly. Mary's voice cracked. I'm sorry. He looked up, tired, teary, and nodded once. Come in. And just like that, the door she thought would never open, did. Not wide. Not fully. But enough for a new beginning. 3 months later, the walls of Papa's house no longer echoed with silence. There were new sounds now. Soft baby coos, lullabies hummed off-key, Mary's gentle footsteps down the hall at night. He had changed. Not loudly, but deeply. She didn't wear pride like perfume anymore. She wore humility like skin. One morning I found her in Mama's old garden, baby Hope swaddled to her chest, hands in the soil. She was planting ugu. Are you farming now? I teased. She smiled. Trying. Something about watching things grow makes me feel like maybe I can too. And somehow I believed her. Our mother came back from the village 2 weeks later. The reunion was quiet. No grand apologies. Just tears, tight hugs, and long silences that said more than words ever could. Mama took Hope from Mary's arms, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "She deserves peace." Mary nodded. So do I. The call we didn't expect. It was a rainy Thursday when Brown called. Him. He claimed to be in Ghana now. Said he'd made a mistake. Wanted his family back. I watched Mary as she listened, holding the phone like it might burn her hand. When he stopped talking, she spoke clearly. This child is not a trophy. And I'm not your second chance. Then she hung up and exhaled like she'd been holding that breath for years. I didn't say a word. She didn't need validation. She had finally chosen herself. Hope's first laugh. Hope laughed for the first time one sunny afternoon. A full, bubbly giggle that made all of us pause. Brian lifted her into the air. Zena and Zara danced around like fairies. Papa sat in his chair watching with wet eyes. And Mary? She just stood there, hands over her mouth, eyes wide, like she was afraid the joy might disappear if she moved too fast. You're doing it, I whispered. She looked at me. Doing what? Motherhood. Healing. Living. She laughed then, quiet but real. One night, while cleaning out her old purse, Mary found the letter Brown had left with the gate man months ago. He brought it to me. Should I read it again? She asked. I shrugged. Do you need to? She shook her head and fed it to the fire. Because some closures don't come from answers. They come from letting go. And us. We're not perfect. We still argue over baby names, share leftover umla, roll our eyes during devotion. But there's peace now. Peace in the way Mary hums while washing bottles. Peace in Papa's hands when he carries Hope to the veranda. Peace in the way we no longer speak of the past as a prison, but as proof that we made it out. But sometimes, redemption doesn't come in thunder. Comes in whispers. In holding your child after thinking you never would. In standing on the same ground you once left in shame. In naming your daughter Hope, and realizing finally that the name wasn't just for her. It was for you too.